There she is. Hey, Lisa.
Hey Scott, how's it going?
Good. And so, congratulations. I know today's launch day. That's a big day for you.
Yeah, it's been a really busy, exciting, wonderful day, and but we're still getting down to flower farming business around here.
I know so much. So, everybody, if you, you know what, Lisa, you do such a great job introducing yourself because you just have a way of putting it. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself real quick for anyone who doesn't already know you.
Well, thank you, Scott. And first off, I really appreciate you having me here today. So my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm the head bottle washer here at the Gardener's Workshop, which is a little urban flower farm located in southeastern Virginia. I'm literally in the middle of the city of 200,000 people. I farm on now, it's my total property is 2.5 acres, and that includes my home and four pretty large outbuildings. But I have no hooper greenhouses, and I've just had a really fun time the last 20 some years of building a successful flower farm, growing outdoors in a giant garden, but doing it as a flower farmer. And I also have an online I guess a platform, we'll call it, right? And that includes all of our online garden shop and tons of resources, as well as our library of online courses that are for flower farmers, for home gardeners, and everything in between, particularly people going from gardeners to farming.
For sure, for sure. And you just create so much wonderful content. And I think the thing that I appreciate about you is when it's all said and done, it's always so practical and actionable. I mean, it's like it's broken down in a way that I think anyone can understand it, whether you've got years of experience or not. So,
Well, Scott, that's how I learn. I mean, it's
me
like
too.
just give me the black and white text of how to do it, get rid of all the fog, and I can do it, right? I mean, if
Right.
we just understand, and I think that's what helped me so much in the beginning, and I was really quite surprised when I first started speaking and teaching 2 decades ago. I just told people what I did and how I did it, and it like really people were really drawn to it, and we have just continued to build on that and find ways to reach more people, to share that really simple message because, this is not rocket science. It is just simple steps, but the key is you got to get up and do it every single day when it's a
Yeah.
business. Well, not every day, 5 days a week. I don't work weekends. But yeah, so it is much simpler. People tend to make things way too complicated.
Wow. Well, before we get into your course, I'd love to see what's going on behind you there. I can't
Sure.
imagine, because weren't you guys hit with the storm and everything that was coming through? How is that
Yeah,
going?
well, this is the last harvest for 2022 because my
Wow.
garden is now flat. And I'll take you down off the stand here and go through and show you all a little up close. But I think one of the things, I just recorded a podcast that's going to come out Tuesday on the field and garden about, I think one of the most surprising things people learn about me is that I primarily grow like 95% annuals. I went through tulips and lilies and dahlias. They're all gorgeous. They're all amazing to sell and easy. But I found for the most in my situation with no houses, for the biggest bang for my buck, it's annuals. And this is just a small portion of what we grow here. And we sold in many different markets, 23 florists, 2 supermarket chains, farmers markets, members only on farm market, a bouquet subscription service. So, and this serves all of them week after week. And once we get a customer, we never lost them.
That's amazing.
So I just want people to know, I know that the dahlias are just sweeping people off their feet right now. They are so gorgeous. But there are flowers beyond that, is what I want to say. You can grow dahlias once you're learned, but in the beginning, and I just never went away from them.
Right, right. Well, I
So
can't wait to see what's behind you.
let's take a look here. Let me swap you around. The buttons are always different, right?
Yeah.
So These are marigolds. These are two different varieties of marigolds. This is yellow, which a lot of people are familiar with, but this is the white swan. It's like a buttercream color, and it has a super low fragrance, if any fragrance. And what a lot of
Really?
people do not understand is that the fragrance on marigolds is the foliage. It's not the flowers. So to get rid of the fragrance, you just strip them because marigolds are enormous, long. Look how big these things are. I mean,
Gee.
they're just amazing. Um, they're super long lasting in bouquets. And I mean, they were really part of the backbone of our bouquet business, but they really come into their own in the fall. They love the shorter days of fall. And then, we grow a lot of different zinnias. These are the specialty zinnias. These are some of the queens. Then there's also some Oklahomas mixed in there. But I think these queens are just really go hand in hand with fall, the color scheme. And
Yes.
then look at these.
Ugh.
These these are cosmos. This is literally, I mean, I said on my show on Friday, I think these will be the last cosmos. Well, I'm here to tell you they're pounded to the ground now from the hurricane. So they are. So these, I mean, they're just, a lot of people also don't realize about them that they really prefer short days, just like dahlias do. That's what brings dahlias on so beautifully in the fall, along with those cooler temperatures. So cosmos really put their party hats on when it comes to the fall. And then
I
look
got to
at
ask
these.
a question. Wait 1 second.
Sure.
I was listening to one of your episodes on Cosmos, and I was surprised that you didn't like growing it for a while.
Oh yeah. So there's definitely a market for cosmos are kind of like sweet peas. They are not the longest lived cut flower, right? I mean, you're lucky to get 5 to 7 days. If you cut them at the right stage, you can get 7 days. So when we were in high production, they were just needier for harvest than I could give to them. So we just pretty much marked them off our list. But now that we're back, I mean, look at this. This is afternoon white. These suckers are
Gorgeous.
so huge. And I mean, I could talk about cosmos all day. This is, what's his name?
Like Rubenza,
Yeah,
Rubenzi.
Rubenza, thank you.
Yeah.
And they bloom this color, but they fade just like a pair of great blue jeans. I mean, they're
I love
perfect
them.
for fall. They're
Yeah.
just perfect. And then we grow, do you know what these are?
So I believe they're in the eggplant family, and they call them
Exactly.
pumpkins. Yeah.
These are pumpkins on a stick, and they look just like pumpkins. And I mean, this is something that you could never, ever have enough of. If you have customers and you're serving several different markets, from tablescapes to arranging to straight bunches, they're really, really beautiful. And then this is a different variety. We call it the egg on the stick. And it's just more textures. I mean, for tablescapes, they're just phenomenal. Then there is the standard gold and orange marigold. I'm sorry, the sun's coming in that way there. And we grow tons of eucalyptus, 4 different kinds. Totally love this one. We call it gum. I can't tell you what the botanical name is. They're all on our website because we grow them all from seed. So they're really simple. And look at this basil. There's 4 different kinds. This is cardinal. I mean, that's
Love
just an
that.
awesome color, right?
Yeah.
And lemon, and then of course the big beautiful zinnias. And good old Gumphrena, which, you can never have enough Gumphrena. These white ones that have a little green tinge, coxcomb. And then, Scott, I think, I'm a huge fan of sunflowers.
Yes, I know.
And I mean, if you have a fairly decent customer base, you're going to markets and maybe you sell to a couple florists, if you're not planting 1,000 sunflowers a week, these are all pro cut mix. I mean, look at these colors. And I mean, people don't even recognize, look at that. It looks like a Gerber
Yeah.
daisy
I was
almost.
about to say that. Yeah.
Yep, and this is the gold light, and this is my favorite. This is good all season long. I mean, doesn't matter what season we're in, this really works. And I mean, the bicolors,
Oh my gosh.
because the way we grow them small, purposely because this is what you want, right? To arrange with. You don't want those whopper sunflowers that are unmanageable. And of course, we grow amaranth, which is really, really beautiful. Um, and then there's always, hairy balls, right?
Yeah.
And then we love this guy. This is Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus. And I'm really surprised how well this holds up. I mean, frankly, as big as the leaves are and as much foliage as we leave on it, it hydrates so very, very beautifully. And so that literally, we cut as much as we could before the storm came, but the rain, we got several inches of rain, whipping wind, everything's down. So it makes it easy to know that it's time to pull everything out in time
Sure.
now to plant cool flowers. So it's we're going to enjoy it as much as we can, and that's pretty much all we that's it for 2022 for that part of our harvest. Now we're really, really busy. We have thousands of transplants just waiting to be planted. I had these in here earlier for a show I was doing. We've got gobs of transplants just waiting and hammering to go out in the garden that'll winter over, and they're cool season hardy annuals, and they'll be the first blooms of spring.
So we do have a question real quick. A couple great comments, but on the white sunflowers, like the white pro cuts, anything you do to help keep the bugs away?
Bugs. So that's a great question. Pests are always attracted to white flower, white and yellow.
True.
But actually, I'm not sure that is scientifically true. But for sure, their damage shows up better on those light colored flowers. And so for many years before I really restored the natural order of nature here on our farm, I didn't grow the whites at certain times of the year because of that. But we would definitely grow the white light and the white night in early spring. One of the things I do I do a seed starting Saturday YouTube every week, and we do sunflowers planting or sowing each week. And I share that we start them way earlier than people think. Sunflowers are much more cold hardy. They're not cool season hardy annuals, but they will take cool. And we get them in the garden like 4 to 5 weeks earlier than we ever imagined. We have sunflowers for Mother's Day, big time.
What?
Growing out in the field, yes. And white is the perfect spring color, right?
Yeah.
And then the pests really aren't bad. So I don't face the pest problem much anymore. But we can grow them even when I had pests in spring and then again in the fall. And two, it's the stage you harvest. You need to cut them before their flowers start lifting off the face of the sunflower. So yeah, restoring, we really used to fight the pests, but that's not much of a problem anymore. And people don't even think they're sunflowers. That's the cool thing about it. Your florists are like, whoa, what is that? Because all I would have to do is take a bunch of whatever different color like that we would have and they were totally blown away. Totally love them. And I'll tell you another little tip with them.
Yeah.
All specialty color sunflowers, whether they're whites or bicolors or chocolates, all of those colors seem to have softer necks for whatever reason. The hybridizers need to get on board with those people that have to use it, right? And the way that we combat that, and actually an old flower arranger of 50 years in the business coming here to pick up flowers one day a few years ago, she saw them and she said, well, don't you just put a splash of quick dip in your bucket? I said, what? I've dipped them. She said, no, honey, just put a splash, about 2 tablespoons in your harvest bucket so that they really draw up the water when you first put them in, and be sure you keep them upright, straight. And she's exactly right. Their necks aren't nearly as strong as the oranges, but even before I knew that trick, Scott, our customers didn't care that they had wonky necks. They loved the color so much. You know what I mean? They would figure out a way to use them. But the hydrator quick dip, about 2 tablespoons in your gallon, harvest bucket definitely makes a difference to help prevent that from happening as much.
Wow. I've never heard of using Quick Dip that way. I always get scared of it actually because I mean we use it
Yeah.
and it's a great product. I just always feel like it's such a strong
Right.
acid almost. I get nervous about it, but I guess diluting it that much, the sunflowers aren't. I mean, that's an awesome tip because so many people have issues with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, any other products that you or any other that you can do that with the Quick Dip?
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think, I sometimes we grow a lot of Rebecca's, black-eyed Susans. We grow
Yeah.
all the varieties, about 8 or 9. And some of the bigger ones like Indian Summer. And so first off, you want to harvest them when they're more wide open, when the bugs are free to bite on them, but you just have to let them get more mature before you cut them. And sometimes even if you cut them at 5:30 in the morning, they still wilt. I mean, they still just don't get it. So we've done it with that too. And I do that. I kind of follow the rule like we do with the CVBN tablets, the bleach tablets. Let it sit in there for at least 4 hours. Let them get hydrated and let them recover a little bit from being cut. And then I would probably move them out of that. Sunflowers, those big old stems, I don't worry about that so much. But other flowers, I would say try it. I mean, I haven't ever tried it on like hydrangeas. I don't find that necessary, but I can see people trying it on those.
Yeah.
But you would just have to experiment. It doesn't have to stay in there for days. I mean, it's like this is part of the drinking process.
Sure. Well, it's a great tip. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, so many things we could talk about.
Yeah, we could.
Obviously, I want to make sure we talk about your course. I know if they get, because it's only available this one time a year, and it started today, and it goes through the 5th, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was excited to see that this class turns around, and the class actually starts November 1st. Did I see?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So you register now, and then we have from now until when school starts to get everything lined up for everybody. And what people, I think the questions that I get from people and the comments, like I did a webinar this last week that was a one-time shot thing for people that had signed up for it. And, I kind of just told them my story of how small, when I first started farming, this place was only 1.25 acres, including my house and the outbuildings. I barely had 2 quarter-acre gardens. And I just hit the ground running and learned how to get the most out of such a small space. And my first piece of advice to people is to start super small and go slow. Start only annuals from seed, low investment, high profit margin. Learn how to bloom and farm before you start spending tons of money. I mean, Scott, our inbox is always full of people's just heartbreaking stories of either purchasing the wrong bulb, like buying tulips that were bedding tulips instead of tall enough to cut, and they bought 5,000 of them and they're blooming 10 inches tall. I mean, these are not exceptions. These are things we hear, and you can just go on social media. I say to people, there is such a difference going from a gardener to a farmer, because most of us were avid gardeners, right, before we stepped into the flower farming field. And there is such a learning curve. Your love of gardening and wanting to be outside and being hot and dirty all the time, which is the way I stay, that it's so much more than that. I can still remember, when I became a flower farmer, which we barely had the internet then. It was in 1998, and the internet was just coming out, right? And I can remember the first conference that I went to, or I wasn't a conference, it was a farm visit because I joined the association. I can remember walking around like a deer in headlights of a car. I couldn't believe how differently the practices that they did, the stuff that I was doing and wasting so much time doing, was so unnecessary. And there was so much more efficient, quick ways to do it. I mean, I had just finished doing the Master Gardener course before I started. I was an avid reader. I had every garden magazine, every garden book. I thought I knew a little bit. But I'm telling you, that's the biggest learning curve that we really help people learn. You got to take your gardener glasses off and put your farmer glasses on. And there's quicker, faster, better ways to do things, and you just look at things very, very differently. And because you know what, Scott, and I was doing that podcast earlier, I was just thinking to myself, what I really want, I wanted to make my career part of my life, not rule my life. And I wanted to love and enjoy it. And me finding the path to do that by growing annuals primarily, which means when a hurricane comes or a pest outbreak comes, you don't stand to lose a chunk of money, or deer come, or rabbits come and eat your mess to the ground. And all those things are realities. And I decided that there are so many variables in farming that I can't control, like weather and all that kind of stuff, that I can control what I do here. And that just took me down this path. And to start small, do not get intoxicated with the pictures on social media. I mean, you have to like zip up your business britches and say, I am going to do this, and I am not going to be pulled to buy things that I'm not ready to buy until I have customers knocking my door down, waiting for this stuff. And I've learned how to keep weeds out of my garden. That's what happens. People will suffer through one season, and then we lose them. We need more professional domestic flower farmers.
Yes.
And, you know, don't you believe that? I mean, there's just...
Oh, 1,000%.
I mean, people look, you know, and let me tell you what misleads people. We could go down a long rabbit hole here, Scott. You know what misleads people is they see these Facebook groups that have thousands and thousands of people in them. But friends, I'm here to tell you, less than 1% are actually selling flowers. I mean, they're all wanting to grow flowers, but they never take that step. I am here to tell you, I know that firsthand. And, you know, that's why we're, you know, anyway. So it is an amazing career and opportunity. There is, you know, what's the number now? $7 to $8 billion a year is purchased in the United States in cut flowers alone. I mean, until we start tapping that 80% comes from distant lands, there is no ceiling. You just have to find a way to reach the people. And that's what we really want to do. We want to teach people how to set up their business, set your garden up like a working garden, not a landscape that's going to wear your butt out just trying to keep the weeds down, right?
Right.
And it just really makes a huge, huge difference. And there's so much we don't know what we don't know, right?
Oh, and that's the thing. I think that's true of anything. But what's so frustrating, it's not frustrating, but I think with flower farming, I think that's such a thing that I wish people would embrace, that they don't know what they don't know. Because okay, so maybe it doesn't cost you a lot of money, but one thing it does sometimes cost you is time.
Yeah.
You know, you have one major faux pas or, you know, mistake, and then you sometimes have to wait a whole nother year to start that process over again. Why not save yourself the time and all that wasted time? So
well, and not even that, Scott. I mean, you lose your morale.
Oh, for sure.
You lose money, and you know, I mean, my husband was so supportive. I mean, but how many years was I going to serve that man cereal for dinner? You know, because I was dragging myself into the house, you know, after dark, and it's like, what's for dinner, you know? And while he cooked a lot, but still, your family can only go along and support you for so long. You've got to be making progress and turning the corner. And that's what we see so many people never ever, after the first year, they're like, I can't do this again. I am so hot and tired. I didn't make any money. My garden's overrun with weeds. Well, friends, that's because you're doing gardening in a farming situation, and it doesn't work that way. But it's a wonderful opportunity, and my course is really where the rubber meets the road and covers all those things: what you should grow, how you find customers, how you sell, harvest, condition. And it's a tool that you'll come back to for years and years. And we have created tools within the course to make it easy to come back and search for stuff. Because as your business starts and develops, you got new problems, you know, that you're facing today than you did 6 months ago. You didn't even hear me say that this is how you do this. You were just focusing on what's facing you today. And that to me is what drew me to online courses. I mean, the online course that I took to learn how to build online courses. I took 6 years ago, I think. I go back and watch it on a regular basis. It's like, all right, where was that part where I'm supposed to do whatever? And then I go in and it's like, oh my gosh, look at this. I never even realized she said that. You know, I mean, that's the joy of being able to revisit online courses. And we just kind of keep building them bigger and bigger. They're deep and wide. But if somebody wants to start business and thinks they sound like they're coming from where I came from, and inexperienced, barely a gardener, small space, big space, whatever you've got, and you want to learn how to do something and build a sustainable business, I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, let me see if we have any questions. I agree with you 1,000%. Oh, hey, there's Daniel from Pedal Pickers. Hi. Hey, how you doing,
Daniel.
man? Yeah.
I was just talking about you, Daniel. I was on an interview with the Montana Cut Flower Association, and she was talking about selling dahlia tubers, but how much later their dahlia tubers ship because of where they are in frozen. I said, well, if you want to know when the southern people are supposed to plant dahlias, you need to hook up with Daniel, because Daniel has shown us how planting dahlias a little later helps to avert those pest problems.
Yes, that's an amazing trick. He asked, what are the most popular seeds that you sell on your website?
They're pretty much the same ones that were our most favorite cut flowers and cool flowers right now, and they change with the season. And when we have a staff meeting every week, that's what each person reports, and Lane is our seed manager. And I think this last week, the most popular Bells of Ireland, giant poppy pods, maybe Madam Butterfly, snapdragons, and of course the Pro Cut sunflowers, as well as coxcomb and zinnias, believe it or not. And in our top 5 cash crops, always during the summer months, were celosia plumes, but I grow the hybrids, not the quick seedy ones, and we harvest them at the right stage, and those were in our top 5 cash crops. And of course Lysianthus.
Yeah.
But we don't actually sell the seed of Lysianthus yet, but I think we are adding them next year. I'm actually sharpening up my pencil and trying my hand at starting Lysianthus seeds again. I used to. You can do it. It's just a slow process.
Yeah,
Right.
sure. I was wondering, I know, like, especially this time of year, everyone's thinking of cool flowers, and that's what the focus is as we transition out of whatever we're growing now.
And of course, the Pro Cut sunflowers, as well as coxcomb and zinnias, believe it or not. And in our top 5 cash crops, always during the summer months, were celosia plumes, but I grow the hybrids, not the quick seedy ones, and we harvest them at the right stage, and those were in our top 5 cash crops. And of course Lysianthus.
Yeah.
But we don't actually sell the seed of Lysianthus yet, but I think we are adding them next year. I'm actually sharpening up my pencil and trying my hand at starting Lysianthus seeds again. I used to. You can do it. It's just a slow process.
Yeah,
Right.
sure. I was wondering, I know, like, especially this time of year, everyone's thinking of cool flowers, and that's what the focus is as we transition out of whatever we're growing now. But this course covers farming over or growing over the 12-month period, not just now, correct?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's got warm and cool season flowers in there. And it doesn't say in there, Scott, this is when you plant. It gives you the equations to figure out for your area. Because we're international. There's people all over the world that take the courses. And so it's really the way to teach you how to fish. I'm not giving away fish. Because frankly, I can't give away fish. I mean, everybody's conditions are so very, very differently.
Right.
But it really covers having blooms as early as possible in the spring, starting out with cool season hardy annuals, then going to the warm season, and then you can even bloom in the fall with cool season, depending on what kind of season you have. If you're in Hurricane Alley like I am, not always reasonable to plant a fall crop like that because you so often lose it to a tropical storm. But yeah, so it's for anybody, anywhere, and it covers all the seasons.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I feel like sometimes people forget that and they just, how many times do people just want to be told what to do?
Yeah.
But every climate is so different, and where you are, temperature wise, I mean, there's so many variables, and it's good that you cover that.
Well, and you know what, Scott, I really feel like that's part of being a business person. I'm sorry, people, you got to figure something out yourself.
Yes.
If it was easy, everybody would be going into business.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to have boots on the ground and do the job. And that's how you make decisions. I mean, it becomes second nature. I mean, it's like now when I'm trialing about, I think there's 4 or 5 new cool season hardy annuals that I've just learned about, believe it or not. I mean, there's still more out there. And so I'm trialing them, planting them in the fall, and planting them again in very early spring. But my mind goes into automatic process when I see a new flower that's an annual. Is that a cool season or a hardy, or a cool season or a warm season? You know what I mean? It's like you have this process and it becomes second nature. And once you know when you plant cool season or warm season in your situation, you can figure anything out once you know if it's a cool or warm annual. And I mean, you'll rule the world with flowers. I mean, I'm not kidding you. People make it so dadgum complicated, but it is really that simple. And yeah, you've got to figure out some stuff for yourself once you know the facts that you need to base it on. That's what we want to provide to you, what you need to consider and look at.
So is this course all like farming tips and techniques? You said something about starting your business, how to do that part of it. So is there that, the roots, I guess the foundational business beginning part of it too?
Sure. So the course is broken out into 6 sections, and a section is put into your library. Week 1 has 1 week, and then you go on and on. Each week you get additional sessions. And week 1 is all about the business. Week 2 is about setting up and building your working cutting garden. Week 3, and I'm doing this from memory, it's scary. Week 3 is selling what you grow. It's giving you an overview of the different types of customers and tips and ways to approach that, to find that out, how things you really want to, and the big thing for me is how to be a darn professional. I mean, I see, oh my gosh, sometimes I just want to cover my face with the sheets when I read some of the things that we see people doing and seeing and representing us as professional growers. And it's really about being a professional, and that's week 3. Week 4 is seed starting. Week 5 is, I should have looked at this before I came here. Week 6 is harvesting and conditioning. And then week 5, and that also includes fast bouquet making for like markets.
Okay.
And week 5, I think, is all about like netting and sport, all of the maintenance of the garden. And, I mean, it's just down and dirty. It's those steps you need to follow. And I think it's I'm no fluff, if you haven't figured that out by now. I mean, it's like, I just tell you like it is. I show my dirty laundry, tell you how many times I screwed it up and did it that way. You can sure do it again, but you don't have to. So the classes come out one group of sessions a week for 6 weeks. And each week we have a live Q&A. That Q&A, you can submit your questions, and then I take live questions if we have time. That is recorded and also added to your library, so you have that forever. It is also time-stamped, so you can, if you don't have time to watch the whole thing and you want to see, did they answer my question, you can go in and find it, as well as all the previous year's Q&As. The course is enormous in size. And we now have the entire course, all the sessions are time-stamped. That means there's a syllabus that is linked that you can go to it and click, and it'll tell you exactly where to go in a video to see where I talk about how you put on netting or the stage to harvest XYZ or whatever. So we've really invested in trying to make the course. We know that more people go back and watch it after school than they actually can during school. There is so much to take in, Scott. And if you're just starting out, your brain is about to explode. I mean, you're
Right.
skimming through it, and you're just trying to cram so you can maybe have a question. And then the best thing for me, and something that we have really tried to make a big part of our course, is that after school is over, we put you in what's called an alumni Facebook group. Those are all of my students. About 50% of our students choose to be in these Facebook groups. The rest of them don't elect to do that. So after school is over, we put you in with all my previous students, and it is an amazing group of people that are like you. They put a little skin in the game. They paid for a course. They're serious about doing this, and the support and knowledge that's shared in there is amazing. And then I'm also in and out of that group. It's not like when you're in school where I'm watching the Facebook. There's a special private Facebook for in school also, and I'm in there every day trying to guide people. But the alumni, I'm in and out, but it's just, we just really try to support and help people move along. I mean, I'm still answering questions from students from 2018,
Right.
because they have new questions now. They're
Right.
like rocking it.
Yeah. And you get to, and like you said earlier, you get to different stages, and you have different questions.
Yeah.
Rimrock Flower Farm, which I see her name a lot in my feed. We took the class 3 years ago and still go back and rewatch every winter. That was one of her great comments. We did get a question: would the class be too difficult to take along with the Master Gardener course?
No, because I know that because I've taken the Master Gardener course, and very much the same. The Master Gardener course is really about providing you with resources to be able to know where to go to find your information. This course is basically the very same way. You can definitely self-pace it, and you can either attend the live Q&As and submit a question or not. So you can really watch it at your own pace. And that's what I tell people. It's like I did with that very first course. I had no idea what to expect when I went into my first course. I just didn't understand how it worked. It's a bunch of videos. You can go in and watch and rewatch and rewind and pause and come back later. And the platform actually keeps track of that for you. And we have a phone app. Most people watch it on their phones. And it's just super convenient. And while you cannot download it, I mean, that's the only way we can protect our intellectual property, right? But if you are going down the road and you're in your car, you can listen to the audio. So many people do that. And then you can watch it later, or if you've already watched it, you can listen again. So there's so many opportunities. So I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I think the two would go very much hand in hand.
Definitely. Well, that's a great answer. I know there are other courses that are also going to be releasing later on in the year, and I don't know if you want to mention any of those, because some of them are coming up real soon.
Yeah, so, after my course launched and my students started doing it, and having success, then they started asking for deeper, wider information. So the first thing I did in Dave Dowling's course, which is bulbs, perennials, woodies, and shrubs, woodies and more, his course actually enrolls in the middle of the summer, and it runs late summer when you're buying all those things and making that selection. And then we also have, which is coming up in November, Gretel and Steve Adams of Sunny Meadow Flower Farm. And if y'all do not follow their Instagram feed, oh my gosh, the images and videos are amazing. They have 18 houses. They teach growing cut flowers in hoop and greenhouses. And you want to talk about exploding your brain? Their information from which houses to buy, where to put them, how to maintain them, what to grow, how to schedule, pests, problems. It is totally an incredible course. And then Jenny Love has a course called Farmer Florist, the wedding process. This is nothing to do with design. This is 100% the business, from pricing and contracts to, I think it's the 10 top crops that you should grow, and then even the crops you shouldn't grow that you should buy from other farmers. That is an amazing course. And then, of course, the one that is the nearest and dearest to my heart is Ellen Frost's Growing your business with locally sourced flowers. Ellen is a designer, owns a shop in Baltimore that only uses locally grown flowers within 100 miles of her shop year round. She's doing it, and she has created, in my mind, the type of business model that people imagine a flower shop is. I mean, she has book clubs, she has design wars with her customers. I mean, it is just amazing. And she's done a course, she's done a couple of courses for us. She's done this course to help florists take that step and to figure out how to work with farmers, how that works, where to find them, all of that. And that's an incredible course. And then she's also just done an on-demand course called Preparing to Sell to Florists. I mean, who better to learn from than the person that you'd be selling to, right?
Right.
So yeah, but our schools, because they're so interactive with the instructors, that's why they only enroll once a year, and then they run for 6 weeks, and then you have to wait another year.
Well, we had a great comment. Dry Dock Flower Farm. Hey, how are you? Says, yes, I listen to the classes going down the road and while I'm cooking, cleaning, seeding, all the things. And yeah, I love that because, well, I mean, I feel like you can sit here and watch the course, but when you're listening as you're doing other things, sometimes you just pick up, other things. You just pick up stuff. And I don't know. It kind of goes along with podcasting. One thing I'm glad to say, we appreciate the Gardener's Workshop being one of our sponsors.
Yes.
And we have had all of these wonderful people on our podcast too. So I encourage you to go listen because you will, when you hear Dave and Ellen and Gretel and Steve, I mean, you hear them all talk. It's like, they know what they're talking about. And you know that you want more. I mean, that's the one thing. It's so hard when these hours are up and you're like, okay, we barely got to cover anything. And so
it's so true, Scott. I mean, I'm so glad you said that. First off, we're honored to be a sponsor of your podcast. And
thank you.
I handpicked all of our instructors. They didn't come to me saying, hey, I've got an idea. I went to them and said, we've been traveling the country teaching people through the ASCFG and all these different big farm conferences, and you're an awesome teacher. I just have that gift, that servant's heart to really teach, and you are doing it, and you're doing it successfully. And that's how we got our instructors, and that's what sets us apart, I think, is these are people that they're so practical. There's a huge difference between somebody having an education and trying to just teach you based on that. But when people are doing this every day of their life, as their business, their career, their job, their passion, it changes everything, And when they have that, I mean, how about Dave Dowling? Holy cow. I mean, has there ever been a better teacher? But I could say that about every one of them. Yeah. I mean, Jenny, who just feels like she doesn't even want to let Q&As end because she doesn't want anybody's question to go unanswered. I mean, it's true. And that's the common denominator in us. Besides, we're just nuts for growing flowers, So, and I do want to say that we have quite a few hobby gardeners that have taken my course. People that, I mean, whether they're growing flowers for charity or for their church flowers or whatever. While the first week is we get the bad stuff out of the way first. When I say bad stuff, the stuff nobody wants to take care of, the business, the getting your stuff going. But after that, it's more, what you have to do and how you have to do it. And I'm just proud as punch of our courses. But again, it is not fluffy TV. This is get down and dirty, teaching stuff and how you do it. And you have to want to do it to really partake in it.
Yeah. We had a question. Yes, it was Sunny Meadows is the name of Gretel and Steve's place. So that's awesome. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Well, I so appreciate this time. And I know I'm trying to be respectful because I know your voice has to last the next 5 days doing everything. I want to give you the second to, you have so much incredible free content. So I have a small confession to make.
Okay.
I got on Clubhouse, which I have not been on Clubhouse very much over the last year, especially. And I didn't realize all the new features of Clubhouse. And I didn't realize you have you can save your conversations anymore. And there's all these great conversations you have saved there. But that's just one of the many opportunities you have for learning. So I just want you to take a second and share with everybody that's here and we'll watch later.
Sure. So we do have tons of content. So Clubhouse does allow you to save the conversations. I mean, I just love Clubhouse because people can come up and ask you questions. And we paused that this fall, and we'll restart that later in this winter. But you can find us on Clubhouse. I do Instagram Live every Wednesday. It's called Ask a Flower Farmer at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on our Gardener's Workshop handle here on Instagram. 30 minutes of you bring your questions on growing flowers, flower business, farm dogs, what you got, bring it on. I'll do my best to answer it for you. Saturday mornings, I do Seed Starting Saturday, where we look at what I'm doing here on the farm. And the Seed Starting Saturdays is actually on YouTube and Facebook. It streams on both of those. And then, of course, I have our podcast, Field and Garden, and we are just getting ready to launch a new segment of our podcast, which will be a standalone because it has been such an enormous hit, and it's called Seed Talk. It's me and Lane. Lane is our seed manager, who is quite a knowledgeable home gardener. She's a bioengineer. So she is so geeking out on seeds, and she loves talking about them, and people are loving it. So that's going to be launching in a couple of weeks as its own standalone podcast. Let's see, and and we have tons of videos on our website. The Gardener's Workshop is just home to all kinds of stuff. And I always say to people, we love creating content. But I have a staff of 14 people to do all of this and to run our online garden shop. And so we just always appreciate if you ever need tools, seeds, and supplies, or if you're looking to up your knowledge and need to expand your horizons, consider us for online courses and when you need stuff, because that's what pays for all that free stuff, and that's just what makes the ball really roll uphill, right? And so if you want to enroll in my course, I see somebody just actually put that there. So you go to the website, thegardenersworkshop.com. If you scroll down, it's right there on the home page, or you can go to the online courses. The course is $595. And friends, I am a money girl. I am the numbers person. When I consider spending money on anything for my business, first thing I think of is, all right, what do I have to do to earn that extra money, to cover that? I mean, that is a day at the farmer's market if it's a good market, 2 days if it's not such a great market, or a subscription or two. And I can wholeheartedly say to you, you'll make a difference in your business. It'll turn the corner for you and save you so much money from making mistakes. That's the discouraging part of all of it. So it's thegardenersworkshop.com, and you can find all of that. If you go to my profile and follow that link, it has all of those links there also. And we just love teaching, but we have to find a way to pay for everything. Right? Everybody's got a power bill to pay. So we just love doing this, and I would love to walk with anybody. I can help you if that's the step you're at. That's, I feel pretty confident saying that. And we always do offer a 7-day money-back guarantee from when the class starts, November 1st. If you get your first classes and it's not for you, no questions asked. And here's another tool, Scott, and I'll stop talking after I tell you this. A new tool that we added last year that actually Lane created. She's like a technology spreadsheet whiz. She created a database. It's called the Cool Flowers Field Report. And it is an interactive database where you can go in there and say, I'm in zone 7, I grew bells of Ireland, And I planted them outside in the fall, and they did great this winter. You know, let's say you were in zone 6, which we don't know that it's winter hardy in zone 6. It immediately populates it, so whoever looks at it, it can see. You can search it by flower, by zone. You can put your zone in and find all the people's experiences related to the different flowers. It is a tremendous tool, and it's only in my course. It's not available anywhere else. And it's just getting rolling. And so that's another tremendous, and you get immediate access to that also when you enter.